Welcome to Treasure Mountain, the podcast that inspires and guides people to find the treasure within human experience. Before we get started on this interview, I wanted to thank all our listeners for joining and remind everyone that you can find out more about Treasure Mountain by going to the treasuremountain.info website, where you can find all previous episodes and information about all our guests. If you enjoy this podcast, you can subscribe by searching for the term Treasure Mountain in your favourite podcast app, or you can go to treasuremountain.info, then go to one of the talks. Below each of the talks is a number of buttons which correspond with a podcast application, like Apple Podcasts, for instance. From there, you'll be prompted to listen on your favourite app, or you can just listen in your web browser. Don't forget to tell your friends about Treasure Mountain too. I'll have more inspiring guests and topics in the coming weeks and months. On this episode of Spirit Stories, we have as our guest Radan Kuča from the Czech Republic, who has set up a channel, Ajahn Brahm Cesky, to translate teachings into the Czech language. As you'll find out, this effort has already had a big impact and may already be spilling over into similar efforts for Ukrainian translations. I find hearing these stories of volunteers working to share the Dhamma in new places really inspiring, and I hope you do too. So join us for this episode as we find out about the unfolding of Buddhism in Eastern Europe. Welcome to the Treasure Mountain podcast, Radan. How are you today?
I'm fine, thank you. Nice to see you, Saul, and thank you very much for inviting me to this inspiring podcast. It's a great honor for me to be with you. And I must say that I'm doing very well at the moment because I'm in a reasonably safe country. I'm reasonably healthy, and it's the summertime, so everything's fine.
Well, thank you very much for coming on, and a very good point. We should be counting our blessings, I suppose, living in peaceful countries. Let's get started. Radan, I'd like to find out how you first came to start practicing Dhamma and meditation.
Well, my case was, I think, pretty much an ordinary case. So I came through a lot of suffering in my life because in the past I used to live the life like a full speed ahead life, like a life in a racing car. And so I had a very successful business. I did lots of sports and lots of entertainment and parties and this kind of stuff. But suddenly my body told me stop. So actually I got a severe back pain and I was paralyzed for a few months. And so suddenly I had a lot of time to reflect, to think about the reason, and also to read and to search for some other way, for some information, how to solve this problem. So I was reading a lot of books, and actually I was reading an article written by a famous Czech banker, and he was recommending a book. And this book was Mathieu Ricard's book on happiness. And this was very, very inspiring for me. It absolutely matched my life experience and it resonated with me so much. And so I started to read more and more Buddhist books. And later on, I was very lucky because Ajahn Brahm's book, Opening the Door of Your Heart, was just translated into Czech. So I could read also his book. And it was not only wise, but it was also a great fun. So I gradually got attached to Ajahn Brahm, and then things just continued.
That's really interesting. I've also read that book by Mathieu Ricard and, of course, Ajahn Brahm. I'm curious to know, were there any teachers in Prague, or was it just books that were your first point of contact?
It was books in the beginning. I wasn't aware of any Buddhist community in the Czech Republic because Buddhism is very little, very few Buddhists in the Czech Republic. So actually, I didn't search for any teacher either in Prague or in any other place in the Czech Republic. So I was reading many books, and there were quite a few on the market. So I started to watch online videos from BSWA, Ajahn Brahm's talks and meditation and sutta classes. And I got involved more and more. And so later on, I started to search if there is any possibility to practice Buddhism in the Czech Republic. And I was quite lucky. I came across a Buddhist nun who was ordained in Sri Lanka. She was Theravada nun, and she practiced in a place in a small town which was about 1 hour drive from my town. So I started to come for sutta classes and for with my kids also for Dhamma school. And so gradually she introduced me to reading suttas, and then it just my interest was deepened. I got more and more attached, more and more addicted to Buddhism. And also I continued listening and watching Ajahn Brahm. And I think his way of teaching was the most inspiring and the most appropriate for my personality. So I just stick with Ajahn Brahm for many years.
So in the Czech Republic, it sounds like Buddhism is really quite new and there's not a lot of people yet who are actively practicing. Is that correct, or am I wrong about that?
Yes, you're right. It's growing slowly, but I would say that there is less than 0.1% of the population is kind of Buddhist. And there are many little groups, mainly Tibetan Buddhists. I think the most popular is the Diamond Way Buddhism from the Lama Ole. And there are also some Mahayana Buddhists from the Vietnamese community, because in the Czech Republic there is a huge Vietnamese community from Vietnamese immigrants from the past. And concerning Theravada, I think there are very, very few groups or even people practicing Theravada Buddhism in the Czech Republic. But I think slowly, little by little, it's growing. So we will see in the future. Maybe with our channel, we can create a little bit larger community of people interested in Theravada Buddhism. And maybe we can get such a success like in Poland, where at the moment there is a huge Buddhist community, also because of their YouTube channel, which was started many years ago, maybe 15 years ago. And now they are thinking of even establishing a Theravada Buddhist monastery in Poland, because the community is huge. So maybe it will happen one day in the Czech Republic as well.
Well, let's hope so. And I think with people like you there in Czech Republic, I think there's a much greater chance of that happening. Let's move on to the work you've been doing as a volunteer. You've set up a website and you've got a YouTube channel, Ajahn Brahm Cesky. First of all, what inspired you to start these channels up with Czech language translations? What inspired you to do that?
Actually, the thing was that I was attending Ajahn Brahm's retreats and talks and teachings for so many years, more than 10 years. And I got so much inspired, and I thought that's a really shame that people in the Czech Republic cannot watch Ajahn Brahm live. They could read some of his books, but I thought that to see him live is even more powerful, and you can feel much more emotions, much more kindness, and you can see what your teacher is actually not only saying, but how he's behaving. And I think this is very important, to actually see your teacher not only at the time when he's performing, but also sometimes when the talk finishes and you see his immense kindness. And this is what the people who just read his books cannot see. So I thought it might be a good idea to start to translate some of his videos into Czech language. And it became like my hobby. I enjoyed very much. It was like an exciting puzzle game for me because, for example, to translate his bad jokes, it's a real challenge because he usually uses double meaning of English words, which are totally different from the words in the Czech language. So sometimes I have to like keep this sentence in my mind for many days and work it out little by little what's the most appropriate way how to translate it, because it's really difficult to express his sense of humor in a different language. So it became my hobby, and I started slowly to translate subtitles first. But it appeared that people are not interested in reading subtitles at all, because people are just too comfortable and they are used to quality dubbing or voiceovers. And sometimes people listen before they go to sleep. Sometimes they listen when they are driving a car or doing some cooking or something. So they are not interested to read subtitles. So I had to like put more effort and resources and start to build a team of people who could produce quality voiceovers. And and we discovered that we really want to do a quality work. We don't want to do like a fast translations, because first, as a respect to our teacher, as a respect to Dhamma, it's important to produce quality stuff, quality videos. And also it's very important that to get the right emotional impact on the audience, it has to be a quality video with a very comfortable voice, very nice pronunciation, very good translation with really the right synonyms, the right expressions, because it's actually translating Buddhism. It's not only translating words or concepts, it's translating emotions. This is what Ajahn Brahm often says, that meditation is not an intellectual state, it's an emotional state. So we are trying hard to translate emotions. And now on the feedback, we can see that we were really successful, because people can feel these emotions and they say it in the feedback. And we are so happy about that.
That brings me to my next question, actually. What is the feedback that you've been receiving so far, and how much traffic are you getting?
There is so much feedback at the moment and quite a lot of traffic. Actually, when we started for a few months, it looked a little bit frustrating, because we had maybe 20 or 30 views a day and almost no feedback. But the thing was that I enjoyed the work. I wasn't focused on the success or on the publicity, on the fame. I was really enjoying to translate and to listen to Ajahn Brahm and to translate the bad jokes and so on. So I kept working, and the views were going up little by little, like every month. But then suddenly, I think it was this April, we saw a few thousand views a day, and suddenly we saw 15,000 views a day, and there was so much traffic suddenly, and we couldn't believe what happened. So actually, what happened was that the YouTube algorithm saw that these videos are attractive for people, and they started to place these videos on the homepage. And so more and more people started to click on it and to watch it. And then the feedback was really running from every corner of YouTube, and there was lots of positive feedback. We have more than 95% of positive feedback, mainly from women. This is interesting that it's mainly women who write very, very positive feedback. When we have some negative feedback, it's usually men who got hurt or whose ego was challenged. So sometimes there is like quite some frustration, but it's very few. Most of the feedback is very positive, and people are saying I think similar comments, as you can see on the BSWA channel, that these teachings change their life. They can feel a peace, they can feel more relaxed, comfortable. Some people asked, where is the nearest cave? They want to run away from the world and start to meditate straight away. And we also get listeners from Slovakia, which is interesting because Slovakia is a different country with a different language, but the languages are not very different. They are slightly similar. And the Slovakian people started to listen to our videos, and they understand it, and they like it. So it was a big surprise. And we got lots of positive feedback from Slovakia. And people are saying that they really appreciate the quality translation and the quality voiceover. So it's simple, easy to understand, it's comfortable, it's peaceful. And one lady, she wrote to us that even her 8-year-old son can understand and can watch these videos with her. So we are really delighted that the goal which we set up to spread these teachings to everybody and to make it accessible to really everybody, it's really happening now.
And congratulations to you for that. And I do want to say I was listening to one of your videos earlier on, and even though I don't understand the Czech language, I could really appreciate the quality of the production. And the speaker, I'm not sure who the speaker was, who was doing the voiceover, did have a very soothing voice. I was quite impressed. So congratulations on that. How long have you been running this channel now?
We started last year in January, so it's like 1 year and a half, and we've got more than 500,000 views since then. And concerning the voiceovers, we are hiring professional actors because this is not an easy work to do, and we couldn't do this with the volunteers. So the volunteering work is mainly translating and proofreading, editing, and this work which concerns the text. But the voiceover recordings are done by professional actors because it's quite demanding and it's very important, and it has a huge effect on the audience if the actor has a good feeling for the text, has a good voice, knows how to express the emotions. This is a slightly different approach than the Polish YouTube channel has, because in Poland the voiceovers are almost without any emotions, because the Polish audience is used to this kind of voiceover recordings. But in the Czech Republic it's different. The Czech audience is very spoiled from the past with a high quality dubbing and voiceovers, so they expect that there will be emotions. So it's again, it's very difficult to put the right emotions in all these parts of the video or these parts of sentences. And the actors which we are using, they are highly professional, and they are getting better and better with each new video. I can see their progress, and I can see that they really enjoy it. They understand the teachings more. Probably they are becoming Buddhist as well, because of course they were not Buddhist in the past. So this is what we are trying to do, and we would like to continue this way. We don't want to put a lower quality in these videos, because then it wouldn't make us happy. We want to produce good stuff, and I feel so delighted sometimes when I sit down and I meditate and I listen to the Czech commentary with the Czech actor, and I can see his beautiful voice, I can see this beautiful translation, and it has so much impact on my meditation as well. So I like actually listening to these videos which we produce.
Well, I have to congratulate you, because it was a big decision to get professional actors in and to do a really professional quality dubbing, and one which required, I guess, a big investment. And it must have been a little bit frightening to make that investment initially. But I think it's really paying off. And I've noticed that you've got over 500,000 views already. And the recent videos are doing really well. So congratulations for that. I want to turn now to something that's very topical for people in Eastern Europe, which is the Russian invasion of Ukraine. And I want to get a Czech perspective on that. Our listeners may well be aware that the Czech Republic is not far from the Ukraine. In fact, neighbouring Slovakia shares a border. Radan, could you tell us how the Russian invasion of Ukraine has impacted life in the Czech Republic?
Well, of course, this has hugely impacted the life of everybody here in the Czech Republic. Nobody was expecting this kind of war in this century. But I was really surprised about the reaction of the Czech society, mainly like the ordinary people, because in the past the Czech society was not very much in favor of welcoming any immigrants, especially during the Syrian crisis. But when the war in Ukraine started, there was a huge solidarity of everybody in the Czech Republic, and people just started to help all possible ways to relieve the suffering and stress of the Ukrainian refugees. So there were so many volunteers helping, even at the border in Poland or in Slovakia, welcoming the refugees, helping them to get into the right bus or train, or sometimes even driving their own cars to the border and bringing these people to the Czech Republic, 1,000 kilometers. And in the Czech Republic, it became quite normal that many families welcome these refugees to stay in their homes. They hosted these families for many weeks and sometimes even months in their flats, in their houses, even before government provided any sort of compensation. So it was just for free. And everybody got involved, like the NGOs were the first and the fastest, but also ordinary people and businesses. Businesses were offering their hotels for accommodating people, or sometimes free transportation for these people. And you could see the volunteers everywhere on the bus stations, railway stations, in the centers for the refugees. And also the atmosphere in media and in the politics changed. People suddenly realized that we have to help and we want to help, and we are trying our best. And so until now, I think Czech Republic is one of the biggest supporters of Ukrainian nation in the war. Not only humanitarian aid, but also in the way of military support, because for example, it's interesting thing, Ukrainian embassy in Prague started a fundraising for purchasing military equipment for Ukraine. And ordinary people in the Czech Republic, they collected over 1 billion crowns in this fundraising activity. So there is a huge of support of everybody. And the thing is that Ukrainians are maybe culturally not so different from the Czechs. Their language is slightly similar. We can't exactly understand their language, but if you get used to it for a few weeks or months, then you can understand slightly more and more because it's all the group of Slavic languages. And another thing is that people in this country have still the memory of the Russian troops, Russian tanks invading Prague in 1968. And of course, there is a fear that this war can continue and that we can see the Russian tanks in Prague again. So there is a really strong support for Ukrainians in any possible way, humanitarian and business and also military. And I have to say that also the first important visit of the prime ministers of Western countries into Kiev into the capital of Ukraine, Kiev, in the middle of March, was actually the Czech prime minister, Slovenian prime minister, and the Polish prime minister. So they were like the first to visit Kiev at the time when it was not safe at all. It was really dangerous. There was still like bombing going on. And so this was also a great expression of solidarity, of support, and it's continuing. It's going on. And also my family, we hosted a Ukrainian family of 2 ladies and 2 little boys and a dog. And they stayed for a couple of months, and then they returned to Kiev after it seemed that it's a little bit safer in Kiev. And so this is what the Czech people do. They just help every possible way.
That's really fantastic, and that people have been helping out so much. I did want to ask, actually, what have you been doing personally? Obviously, you've had a Ukrainian family stay with you. Have you done anything else at this time?
Well, in the beginning, everybody was thinking what is the best to do. So usually people were collecting money. There was lots of fundraising, and the NGOs were collecting millions and billions of Czech crowns. It's like hundreds of millions of dollars. And so also we gave some money to some NGOs in the beginning. Then we hosted this Ukrainian family. But still, I thought that I could do a little bit more. And then I got this idea that the gift of Dhamma excels all other gifts. So I thought, well, I'm translating these amazing talks into the Czech language, and now in Ukraine, these people with this incredible suffering, they will definitely need lots of mental support, lots of psychological support, and maybe even lots of spiritual support. So there was idea coming into my mind. I thought, why not to try to translate these talks into Ukrainian? Because not only we will produce something which can be used in Ukraine by the people for many, many years, maybe sometimes decades. And it's well known that this kind of mental suffering, it stays in the society for sometimes many decades. So this is one side of this help. And the other side is, of course, that we can give some work to some of the Ukrainians who were displaced from their homes or who lost jobs. And so we can actually practically support a few of these people with doing just good work. So we decided to start a Ukrainian channel of Ukrainian translations, and we had to adjust a little bit to the Ukrainian conditions. For example, we are not expecting Ukrainians to work as volunteers on this program because they are in such a desperate situation with no income sometimes. And so we have to actually pay for all these translators, editors, and actors for the voiceovers. But we are very happy to do that because this is money very well spent. And so we published a few adverts on Facebook and on other media, and got a team of around 10 people working on this Ukrainian project. And we got people from all around the globe. Some of them are still located in Ukraine, in the cities like Kiev, Lviv, Sumy, Odessa, Ivano-Frankivsk. But some are overseas, like in the UK, in Italy, Czech Republic, and we got also a guy who is in Brazil, in Rio de Janeiro. So it's a really global community of Ukrainians working on this program.
I think that's really great. It's one thing to give aid, but to give people a job as well is also a really great way of supporting them. And I want to follow up on what you said about how the channel could potentially be useful for a long time in the future because of the nature of trauma. Just this week, I had a contact from one of Treasure Mountain's listeners. It was a woman. She was from Bosnia. From Croatia, sorry. Of course, the former Yugoslavia, and she was a teenager during the war in the 1990s. And the trauma of that really gave her many years of suffering until she found her way to start practicing meditation and practicing Buddhism, and now lives in the UK. But she said how the practice and hearing the teachings and the practice was so valuable. And it was such a long time after the trauma of having lived through war. And she did say some horrible things happened to her. So I really hope that this Ukrainian project is around for quite some time and that it can benefit people. It could be a really valuable project. I wanted to say this Ajahn Brahm Cesky project is a really great project that is introducing an all-new audience to meditation practice and Dhamma teachings. How can people who are listening to this podcast support the Ajahn Brahm Cesky project?
Well, mainly by listening and sharing of these videos to other people. But it seems now that the Czech project is quite well known in the Czech Republic, so we don't need so much like sharing support in the Czech Republic. But what we need is sharing of the Ukrainian channel, because this is just starting and there is a very, very little traffic, and I can see that it will be a little bit of a struggle to share all these videos in Ukraine, because maybe the society is not used to this kind of teachings. So if anybody wants to share, or even sometimes find some volunteers, Ukrainian volunteers who would like to do some simple help, like proof listening or proof reading of these talks, that would help a lot. We also opened a Patreon account so people can send us some money, but at the moment we are still quite okay with the funds which we collected by a little charity, a little family foundation. So this is the money which is like funding this all these projects. But in the future, if it grows, if we produce more and more of these videos, definitely we will probably need more resources. So then the money will be appreciated as well. But what I wanted to say. Something else concerning the Ukrainians and the impact on their psychology, on their mental health. I can see on the team members how this work is changing their own lives. We got one lady who is displaced in the UK, and she told us that before she joined this project, she was like crying for all the month non-stop. She was crying and crying and crying, and she didn't know what to do, because she was feeling guilty that she's in a safe place, whereas others are in a dangerous, suffering cities in Ukraine. So she didn't know what to do, and suddenly she started to work for this Ukrainian project, and she found a meaning of her life. She found a meaning of why she is in a safe place, why she can work to help others relieve their stress. And also, I got feedback from the actor Vyacheslav Kostikoyev, who is well-known actor in Ukraine, and he's telling me that this work works like a psychotherapy for him, because there is so much stress, so much fear, so much uncertainty every day, and focusing on this work, on this project, on these talks is helping him so much. So I can see that it's helping these people at the moment, and I would wish that it will help many more in the future.
Thank you, Radan, for sharing those stories. I really appreciate it. Often, some of the work that I've done in the past has been sharing teachings online, and I get very focused on statistics. But what you've just told me is that behind some of these statistics are really powerful stories of personal transformation. And I guess that really motivates you and hopefully other people to keep doing these kinds of really great projects. I do want to take this opportunity to remind listeners that there are going to be links to Ajahn Brahm Cesky, both, and also the Ukrainian channel will be in the description below. If you could take Radan's advice or his plea to share talks from the Ukrainian channel, if you know anyone who's Ukrainian or speaks Ukrainian, that would really be appreciated. That's one very easy way that people can help out. Before finishing off our little chat, Radan, could you tell us where next? Where do you want to go next with the project? What's your dream for the projects that you're working on?
Well, I'm trying not to have a big dreams. I'm trying to focus on the tiny work and to have little dreams. So my next little dream is to see the feedback on the Ukrainian channel saying, Ajahn Brahm, you saved my life. Something like we can see on the Czech channel at the moment. So this would be my next dream, to see a lot of positive feedback and many people saying that even though the war has taken so much from them, they found a new meaning of life, a new purpose, and it helped them to survive, to change their life. So this will be like my little dream. Maybe my bigger dream would be later on to try to start also Russian channel, because Russia is a huge country. The population is really huge. And maybe if we convert a little bit of the Russian population, even some soldiers, maybe one day even Vladimir Putin, who knows, maybe then all the problems are over.
That is a beautiful sentiment and a lovely sentiment to end on. I think that it was a very good answer that you gave, because your first part saying you focus on what's in front of us, do what's achievable and small. But I got to say, from that, some very amazing and big things can result. Thank you for all your efforts, Radan, and I wish you and all the volunteers in Czech Republic and Ukraine, I wish you all the very best with the project that you're working on.
Thank you very much. So thank you for inviting me, and also all the best to your inspiring podcast. Thank you very much.
I'm really grateful to Radan for taking the time in his busy schedule to let us know about the excellent work that has been done in the Czech Republic. It's such an encouraging sign that there is significant interest in meditation and the development of wisdom in Eastern Europe. If you'd like to support Radan's work, please use the links below to find out more and to donate to this cause. In a near future episode, I'll be interviewing Peter Jagodzinski, who has been a catalyst for the spread of Dhamma in Poland, so stay tuned for that episode coming up soon. Also, if you go to treasuremountain.info and click on the guests link, you'll see all of the guests we've had so far on Treasure Mountain, as well as links to their web pages, podcasts, Facebook pages and other links. And whilst you're on Treasure Mountain, on the website, you could leave a comment by clicking on the microphone logo in the bottom right of the screen, or you could sign up to our mailing list. Thanks for joining us on this episode of Treasure Mountain Podcast. I hope you can join us again next time as we seek for the treasure within.